I'm not an expert on the educational system in Iceland, but I am a teacher. I'm a qualified teacher, and I've been teaching in elementary schools in Iceland. I was teaching the first 2 years after graduation, the first 3 years after graduation here, and then a little bit after we moved back. And I've also been teaching in Ethiopia in a Norwegian elementary school there for missionary kids. I've mainly been teaching music, but also other subjects. And I homeschooled my kids while we were in Ethiopia. And I also followed my kids through the school system here. And so after we moved to Iceland, I was thinking a lot about the school system here, how it is, and I have a good comparison my kids went to a international school in Addis Ababa, which followed the Cambridge curriculum, if you're familiar with that. And also, I was really happy to be able to get to know more about homeschooling and to be able to homeschool my kids. And I met many mothers in Ethiopia that had homeschooled their kids for many years. And that was a really great blessing. So, and of course, I've been following my kids through the school system here, and I've seen the changes. And I know what's happening in the school today because of them. I'm following what they're doing. And unfortunately, I'm not happy about everything that happens, but that's just how it is. So in the beginning, I would have to find my notes from university to find everything about the school history in Iceland. We learned that back then, but something I can remember. At least what I know is when schooling started formally in Iceland, it was mainly the church that took care of it. The pastors, they would travel, or there would be teachers. The first thing was the pastors or the priests, they would travel between the farms and teach the kids how to read through the Bible or through some religious literature, some Christian literature. So that was the first thing. And then, of course, when the places got more, there were bigger populations, they started schools and etc., just like everywhere else. And I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to say anything that is not true. So I could just easily make something up. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, that's probably right. 1904, so good to have someone to help me here. There was obligation, you have to go to school. But they said when I started school, you had to put the kids in school from the age of 7, but now it is from age 6, and they're talking about moving it to age 5 or even 4. And homeschooling is allowed in Iceland, but under very strict conditions. One of the parents or the one who is going to take care of the homeschooling has to be a qualified registered teacher. And I know of very few people that have homeschooled here because it's not easy, but I'm in a group on Facebook about homeschooling in Iceland, so there are more and more people that are interested in that, and that has much to do with how the school system has developed. So just to show the basic, we have these preschools, which we call leikskóli. They accept children as young, some of them as young as 1.5-year-old. And it's very common that children in Iceland are put into daycare when they're around 1-year-old. That's the most common thing. And often it's there's a system here, or kind of a system, which we call daycare mothers. It's just private homes, dagmömmur. And then they try to put the kids into leikskóli, this preschool, by the age of 2. But there has been a lot of problems because it's really hard to get qualified teachers and just staff in general, because it's not very well paid. And so they're struggling with this. So many people are not happy with this, and it's not very common to be staying at home with your kids. I stayed home with my kids here after we moved back to Iceland until they were 4 and 5. Caritas went to preschool when she was 4.5, I think. And people felt that was really strange, and we were considered very weird people for doing that, and even harming our kids. That was, many people thought that we were harming the kids, not putting them into preschool. But we had different opinions on that, so we just went with our hearts. And so that is the first part of school, this preschool or leikskóli. And then from grade 1 to 10, that is the next step called grunnskóli. And that's so usually we both have schools where the kids can go from grade 1 to 10 in the same school, but we also have a system like in the neighborhood where we live. You have one school where you go from grade 1 to grade 7, and then they go to like a kind of a junior high school for grade 8 to 10, and then they collect kids from, like in our neighborhood, it's kids from 3 or 4 schools that gather in this big school for teenagers. I don't know if I should tell anything about my opinions on the system, but I think it has probably both systems have positive and negative sides, but there are challenges when you take the kids from their childhood school and put them into a school with only teens. It obviously causes also challenges. But and then after grade 10, by grade 10 you have kind of finished your the obligation, the school obligation. But now kids are. When I was growing up, you got at the age of 16, you were. Hvað er orðið? Sjálfráða?
18, and then you were independent.
Yeah, independent. Like when I was 16, I was like an adult legally. Now it's 18. So the schools they have to be able to accept kids at school until they are 18. But the kids can decide to quit school at 16. Yeah. But they have to. The state has to provide schooling for kids until 18, and this has been a challenge, especially for kids with special needs. There was a big debate now this year about schooling for kids with special needs. A few years back, we had a lot of special schools. Like there was a school for people with for kids with different special needs, also elementary schools. But I think like 20 years ago, they went over to like one schooling for all, like everyone should be in that. But unfortunately, it has not worked as beautifully as it looks on the paper, because there's lack of money, there's lack of qualified staff to make it work properly. And especially this has been a challenge for parents of children with special needs. And that's mainly what I've seen through I have friends and family that have children with disabilities and special needs, and I see how they have been struggling in many ways. So I don't know what. And because 20 years ago or a little bit before that, the elementary schools were run by the cities or the communities, but then the high schools, they are run by the state. And often there is, in my opinion, a lot of what I'm saying now is my opinion, is that there is a lack of communication between these two. Yeah, but this is how it's put up, like this: leikskóli, grunnskóli, elementary from grade 1 to 10, and then framhaldsskóli, and they are supposed to be 3 years. The kids can junior college, which we would call, because it's somewhere between high school and college, like the first year of college, the last 2 years of high school, like if you compare it to the American system. And after that, you can go to university or college, So this is how it. So we have many different schools for this age, for the 16 to 19 years old. They can also choose to take. They're supposed to finish this in 3 years, but that is new. Just a few years back, it was supposed to be 4 years, but now they've changed it. They've reduced it to 3 years, and now they are. But you can choose. In some schools, you can do it in 3 years. One of my boys graduated in 2.5 years. The next one graduated in 4 years. So it's like there are a lot of choices that they can make.